Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the celebration of Black success. I am honored and privileged to have each one of you present in the room, on stage, and online. Thank you for dedicating some of your time today as we come together around a vision to celebrate Black success. And for those of you who may be new to the vision or new to the process, let me just share with you how this was born. For several years, God has been speaking to me about a message inside of my heart for the promotion of Black success and moving beyond the narrative of us being a people of being downtrodden, being frustrated, being oppressed. And while those are real facts, they cannot be denied. We see them every day. There's another story to be told. And it is our responsibility as Black people and as all people to change the narrative. Change the narrative of what it means to be a Black person. I believe firmly in my heart that Black people succeed always in all ways. And today I'm honored to be hosting an event surrounded by Black excellence and Black success. And even though the caliber and quality of people that are on this stage with us today is exceedingly high, I can't even tell you how many people we didn't bring to the stage today. This is just a small representation of how we as a people have had success throughout our current history. And today we are going to be celebrating Black success, past, present, and future. We have highlighted speakers in each area. At the end, we do have time for a panel. So please engage with us today. This is a virtual event so that we can enlarge the territory and allow people from literally all over the world to join us today. I'm so grateful. In fact, in whichever environment you're watching us today, whether that be Facebook or YouTube or directly on StreamYard or through the bridge, however you're getting to us today, jump into the chat and tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're watching, where you're engaging with us. We are going to ask you several times to engage. And as we do that, I want to take a moment to have a few acknowledgements because there are 4 key people who made this event happen at the scale that it is happening that aren't going to see the stage today. You're not going to hear their voice today, but they deserve acknowledgement and recognition. I want to thank Yvonne Bell, who jumped in with me after hearing the vision and the opportunity that was before us. And she said, okay, Jason, and she asked me about 5 questions. And each time I was like, I don't know, I need some help with that. I don't know, I need some help with that. And she said, I'll help you. Yvonne is a project manager by trade in the construction world. And she jumped in to be the project manager for this event, helping to put together many of the behind the scenes things that came together for you all that I'm very, very grateful for. Yvonne, thank you. I want to also acknowledge Zen Spencer Harris, our media, multimedia promotional director for the event. He jumped in, heard the vision, and said, I'll give my gifts, talents. He does this for a living, works with individuals to build websites, to promote their businesses. And I can't tell you how grateful I've been for you, Zen. Countless hours spent developing graphics, putting links together, making sure things look clean, look right. Thank you. Also want to make acknowledgement to Kaimi Rochelle and her PR work that she did, pushing out. She has a vast network of PR relations that she's developed over the years, and she leveraged those. Again, just jumping in to bless the community and bring many of you here today. And I lastly, of course, would be remiss if I did not thank my wonderful wife for the great work that she did in promoting and actually creating some of the flyers that you've seen on social media, may have been emailed out to you, pushed out to you. She did tremendous work just out of the love and appreciation for the vision that we have to do this. And of course, you all know behind every great man is a great woman. Carissa, thank you so much for your support, your love, and also for taking the kids to go play somewhere so that they're not running around. But so excited to have all of you here today, seeing folks from Upland, Fontana, Jamaica, literally all around the world. So excited to see this. Please continue to let us know, where are you from? Where are you watching us? I see H-Town in the house. Thank you so much for all of you joining in. Having made our thank yous, shared the vision, I'd like to invite our first speaker to the stage. Her name is Dr. Sherry Ann McLean. She is a leadership coach. She has obtained degrees, advanced degrees in psychology, works with individuals to help them break out of their stuck places, advance to the next level. Dr. Sherry Ann McLean, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. I am so happy to be here today. And I hope that by the end of this, short presentation, that you would have gotten something from this that you can take back and apply to your life. So our focus today is the leadership legacy of Black historical leaders. And there are so many Black historical leaders that we can pull lessons from, right? But today we're going to focus on 3 of those leaders, and we want to tie it back to what is your leadership legacy. So I want you to continue to think about that as you're moving through as we're moving through the presentation. What is your leadership legacy? What is it that you're going to take from it? And what is it that you're going to use to apply to your own life? So there's a movie. I don't know if you've heard about the movie, the Burial. I watched it the other day, and it was a pretty interesting movie. And there was a particular scene in it where I want us to focus on a little bit as we're transitioning into our journey with understanding the leadership legacy. And there was a character called Reuben that took Willie and Hal out to this open field, and he asked them, "What do you think this field is?" And they weren't aware what it was, and he said it was a burial ground, right? It's a burial ground, and in those days, slaves couldn't afford like headstones, so it's an open field, but beneath that, it's a burial ground. The last part of the speech that he gave, he said that almost like taking one history and putting it right on top of the other, taking one man's legacy and putting it on top of another, till one day the other gets pushed so deep, buried so deep, can't no one find it anymore. And I want to believe that as we're thinking about these historical leaders, as we're thinking about our own legacy, we're trying to preserve it in a way that it's not buried anywhere, right? It lives within our people. It lives within our culture. It lives within our food. It lives within every part of the fabric that makes this world. And our assignment is very simple today. We're going to have knowledge and inspiration, self-discovery and vision building, and action and empowerment. Now, I have something for you that ties into this. I have a free workbook that I want to give to you. Yes, it's free. I want you to access it because it has a leadership assessment in it that you can take to take a temperature of where you are at with your leadership legacy. So towards the end, I'll show you how to get that. But for now, let's move on to the first speaker. Okay, Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman. We all know about Harriet Tubman and the work that she did with the Underground Railroad. And these laws were taken from the 21 Irrefutable Laws from John Maxwell. Now, that law states that anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Anyone can steer the ship, but only a leader can chart the course. And so as we're thinking about that, right, visionary leadership and strategic planning, adaptability, right? As a leader, are you adaptable? And are you inspirational and motivational? Are you bringing this to your people? When people interact with you, when people meet with you, are they getting that from you? Remember, anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Are you charting the course for the people that you are leading? That's the law of navigation. The next person that we're going to look at is Nelson Mandela, and his law is the law of picture, right? As a leader, sometimes you see the picture before the people that you're following. You see that picture before. How do you get people to see what you see? And so people do what people see. When they see an example, when you're modeling the right, course of action, they will follow suit. And so ensure that you're having an enduring vision with long-term goals, unifying diverse groups, right? He was able to do this in South Africa, right? And so that inspired collective action. How are you bringing people together in an inspiring way? And then building a long lasting legacy, being able to focus on the bigger picture. What is that bigger picture that we see for our future, for our generation, as we're celebrating Black success? What are those things that we're seeing? And then we have Martin Luther King Jr., the law of influence. And for him, I had two laws: the law of influence and legacy. True measure of leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And a leader's lasting value is measured by succession, right? And so the visionary leadership and the courageous advocacy that he had, right? Being able to influence those people. If we think about it, every time we hear the word, the phrase rather, I have a dream, we know who it's connected to. What is that phrase, or what is that feeling that you're invoking in people, that when you speak that word or someone speaks that word, they know that, yes, this is connected to this person. This is connected to me. And so those influential and, being able to mobilize people. How are you mobilizing people? How are you getting people to walk with you? You have this great idea, you have this great business, and you want to push it forward, but how are you getting people to walk with you? And then the legacy of service and sacrifice. The legacy of service and sacrifice. What are you sacrificing? Now, I know. Naturally, we're not wired to be sacrificial, right? But we have to be intentional. If we look at all these great men and women in our history, they sacrifice a lot. They sacrifice a lot. And so you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to give? Am I ready to serve? Am I operating in a servant leadership mentality? And so as we're celebrating these great men and women in history, we want to celebrate you too. We want to celebrate your legacy and what you are bringing to the table and how you are impacting people across the world. We want to impact people across the world. And so their legacy is that they've broken barriers and paved the way. They've championed social change and human rights, and they're inspiring generational change. And they will continue to inspire generational change, right? That's what legacy is about. Inspiration, even after years, people, they've passed and they've transitioned, but the fact that they're still able to influence change. And so what is your leadership legacy? So remember, I told you that, there is a workbook that I want to give to you for free, because I want you to start thinking about that. I want you to start thinking about how you're building your leadership legacy. Now, if this has been valuable to you, if this has been helpful to you, I want you to put in the chat and type valuable. I want to know, because I want to share this message to other people. Right? I want to share this message to other people, and knowing what add value to you, knowing what is beneficial to you, right? Go ahead, put it in the chat, type valuable. Because in this leadership legacy book assessment, you are able to take that legacy, right? You're able to take that legacy, do an assessment, see how you need to adjust, who you need to impact, who you need to get on board with you, right? And so I am going to have you take your phone, scan this QR code, right? Scan this QR code, enter the code free. When you enter that, 2 minutes, you fill out 2 questions, right? 2 minutes, you fill out 2 questions, and then you are able to download this workbook for free. You're able to do your leadership assessment. You're able to do all that you need to do. But there's more. If someone could say there's more, there's more. Once you fill this out, one lucky person will be able to win a free DISC assessment and a DISC debrief with me. A free DISC assessment, a behavioral assessment for free. So you want to go ahead, fill that out. Once you fill it out, put in the chat, say that you are done. And then I have one more thing that I want to share with you, 3 keys that I want to share with you, right? How you can start working on your leadership legacy, right? How you can work on your leadership legacy. So, are you ready to live your leadership legacy? I am thinking that you're ready, right? And the answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. And so, here are the 3 things I want to leave with you today. Leaders must be aware of themselves and the needs of others. When you go into leadership, it's not about you anymore, but how you can serve and support your team and the people around you. They must decide on the best course of action based on that awareness. So now we know, right, about that awareness. How can we take action? And then finally, they must take action to implement their decisions. And we are going to go out there and we're going to take action today. That starts with us. That starts with our awareness. That starts with what we are bringing to the table. I hope that what I shared with you today will cause you to reflect, will cause you to pause and think about, as we're looking back on these historical leaders, how can I look to my future? How can I celebrate that success? And how can I inspire generational change? Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much, Dr. McLean, for those inspiring words. I am truly inspired as I look back to our historians and the past of what we've done to create success and create pathways to the future. And I'm so very glad that you were able to get us connected to you going forward. Please take advantage of that. By the way, this live stream will be saved online, so you will be able to come back to this if you didn't happen to snap that picture of the QR code in time. We will have the ability for you to do that. As I look over the comments, I see so many people who found your presentation valuable. So if you did, connect, and let's move forward to our next presenter then, Mr. Rob McGowan, a worldwide traveler, a good friend of mine, a coach, a developer of individuals. And Rob is going to share with us how he helps people go deeper. And more than that, he's going to share with us the legacy of Black success beyond American borders. One of the visions for this event is that we would recognize Black success, Black history doesn't begin on American soil. Black history goes beyond the civil rights movement, beyond slavery. We have succeeded since eternity past. Rob is going to take us a little bit further into our history, a little bit deeper to maybe some lesser known names. And I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Mr. McGowan, the stage is yours.
Man, I don't know who that guy is, but I like to meet him. Hey, Grand Rising, everybody. Before we get started, I have a quick question I want to start with. Put in the chat, what are some of the images that come to mind when you hear the word Africa? I'm curious. Now, all the folks that's on the continent right now, you'll be cheating. But slavery, yeah, beautiful people. I love it. Wealth, origin, original inhabitants of mankind. Hey, what's happening, Tashawn? Cradle of mankind, motherland. That's dope. Cobalt. See, there we go. Now we're getting into it. You guys keep putting your answers. Tradition. Would love to visit. You got to visit. I remember as a child, as a kid growing up, had my first time actually setting foot on the continent was this past year in 2023. Big ups to Manny for that. I got this nice outfit from there too. But before that, growing up, my images were of commercials of this lady over in Africa asking people for money, and these kids dressed, with no shirts on, with these huge bellies and flies around them, and which this image and narrative of our people, just trying to survive. But here's what I know after being there and after knowing what I know about the imagery and about and what's happening in various developing countries. People are thriving in Africa, right? People are thriving on the continent. Africa is a place of huge resources, of the largest continent, 54 countries with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of tradition, as we hear, a wealth of resources that European countries want to and have been taken advantage of, and robbing our continent, our beloved motherland, of resources, and not just the resources that you can touch, but the resources that are in between our ears, the resources of talent, of skills, that were drawn and taken away from the continent. And so in Black History Month, and this year just happened to be a leap year. And so as we celebrate 29 days of Black History Month, and which gives us an extra day of Black excellence, right? Black excellence is 366 this year, right? It usually be 365, but it's 366 this year. So I love this opportunity to celebrate the intelligence, the beauty, the wholeness, the completeness of who we are as a people, as who we are, versus the narrative, the really narrow narratives that are about us, that are out there. And so as we think about this time of year in the United States, where we're hyper celebrating folk like Fred Hampton or Medgar Evers, or like the doctor before me laid out these famous people in United States history, who have been, and even Malcolm X and Dr. King, the good Reverend Dr. King, as we think about their struggle and their servant leadership, and I'm glad she brought that up too, and paving the way in this country for liberation and for freedom that we're still striving and searching for today. Even on the continent, there are folks and on the continent who did that, right? Think about it. In 1960, you had Kwame Nkrumah over in Ghana. It was the first country to gain independence, first sub-Saharan country to gain independence on the continent. And so we don't think enough about what it takes to break loose from colonial rule. In our country, we think about the Boston Tea Party, and we think about what independence looks like and how we were taught. But think about what that must have looked like in the 50s and the 60s. Oh yeah, we had the civil rights movement here. Over on the continent, it was not just fighting for the rights of people in a country. We were talking about countries liberating themselves, right? Whole nations liberating themselves. And you had brilliant leadership of Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. And I got a chance to visit Accra and Kumasi over last fall. And I would encourage all of you to make that trip. And as we think about, let me ask this question before I go further. Um, how many have heard of the Democratic Republic of Congo and how many people were murdered in Congo? We hear about different Holocausts. We hear about the different struggles and massacres and liberation of peoples and nations across the world. But I wonder how many people have heard what has gone on in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Congo, and Zaire it was called at one time, right? King Leopold. Thank you, Isaac, my man, Isaac coming through. Yeah, King Leopold out of Belgium massacred and murdered over 15 million people just in the Congo. And we don't even think about it because that narrative is not talked about, is not shown, is not really put out there. But when we really talk about liberation and how our folk have had the fortitude and the courage to fight against imperial powers. And when you think about the first prime minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is Patrice Lumumba, so impactful in our lives that I tried to name one of our sons, Patrice Lumumba McGowan. My wife wasn't having that though, but it's dope to have a young person live up to what Patrice Lumumba stood for, what he represented for the Congo, and how his example and courage. And he was assassinated and murdered for saying, colonial powers, get out of our country. Our natural resources belong to us. And he was taken out for that. And as we think about Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, same thing. You had all of these countries across the continent saying, we're standing up for ourselves. We're gonna be the ones to be the shepherds of our futures. We're gonna be the ones to be the shepherds of our own resources. And again, Thomas Sankara taken out. South Africa, Stephen Biko. And so this goes on. And even in the Caribbean, when you think about Grenada and Maurice Bishop, and it's great to hear this and know about these servant leaderships. I want to throw these names out there that people may or may not have heard of, because their leadership and their example of saying, hey, listen, we're going to support our people in a way. I like mind, body, and soul. That's me. But when leaders say, listen, we're going to have free healthcare, we're going to have free education, and we're going to think about economics, and we're going to put our people to work, and we're going to give them the agency and empower them to be the best versions of themselves as they pour back into our countries and our infrastructure and our people. And just in a few short years, someone like Maurice Bishop on Grenada, who implemented free healthcare and free education, turned around their literacy rates and their life expectancy in just a short amount of time. And these examples we don't get a chance to hear or see about because they were taken out too soon, taken out too young. And the narrative is that they because they are fighting and kicking out corporations that are based in the European Western colonial countries, then that's not a good narrative to show and lift up people who are standing on their own agency and empowerment. And so I just want to lift up those names. I want to lift up the Nkrumahs. I want to lift up when I think about Burkina Faso and Thomas Sankara, think about today, you got Captain Ibrahim Traore, who's like, yo, this is our country, baby. You gotta play with us by our rules in order to be in this country. And there are countless amounts of countries who have said, come back, come visit, come stay, come invest, come live. Come build a life. And there are countless amount of countries who are saying, hey, get your dual citizenship, from Ghana to Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Tanzania, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Morocco, Kenya, Egypt, Angola. This goes on and on and on. And I would encourage everyone, as we think about Black excellence 366, let's think about where we came from. As we think about the continent of Africa being the place of the first philosophers, the cradles of civilization, right? The first philosophers, the first architects, the first mathematicians, the first physicians, the first ones who really gave birth to all of the high level thinking and education and knowledge that we think of, that we give credit and credence to other folk that don't look like us. We need to do our history. We need to do our research. And so with that being, I want to leave us with, I usually do story time with Rob. Maybe I'll do that later. But what I do want to leave us with is, as I think back on my trip to Ghana, and I think about seeing the Adinkra symbols everywhere, and how symbolism is key, because when we think about symbolism and narrative, they're the quick version of how people think about, right? It's the prejudging, the prejudice, is because our minds are taking in these huge amounts of information daily. We have to have ways to kind of get to things quickly, get to thoughts quickly, get to analyses quickly. And so when you think about the type of values that a country and a people have, you can put symbolism to it. And so being on the continent and seeing these Adinkra symbols everywhere, it was a quick way for me to tap into and learn, what do people value? What do our people value? What does it look like and feel like to, and this is a quick pivot, to be in a place to where the symbols of excellence look just like you. The symbols of success looks like you. So we have to be in a position to intentionally think about, how do we redefine success? How do we elevate, highlight Black excellence and success, and what that looks and feels like every day? And so I'll end and leave you with this. As we think about going back to Adinkra symbols and the Sankofa bird, as the bird's feet is facing forward towards the future, and his head is turning back with this precious egg. And that precious egg can be our future. It can represent our future. It's also looking back and drawing from our past, our ancestors, our greatness. And I encourage us to, at all times when we can, to look back, to eat the meat and throw away the bones, take away the positive grounding pieces of our history, of our cultures, that has made us great, that has given us the opportunity to build and civilizations, beautiful, huge civilizations. And I encourage, listen, you gotta, I should have did a PowerPoint so you can see pictures of these beautiful, not just scenery, but cities, like modern cities that are in our continent, that are on our continent, in our countries and cities in Africa. And so think about the Sankofa bird as we move forward, and think about our precious future that we hold in our mouths. And let's really think back and ground ourselves with the success and the accomplishments and achievements of folks that came before us that look like us. And I'll say this before I leave. It was great to be in a place to where I'm watching TV and everybody looked like me. I was there for a couple of weeks, and it was great on one hand that everywhere I went, like I might have saw somebody that didn't look like me 3 times. So like 3 incidents, 3 people really outside of the tourist stuff that didn't look like me. And it was just great to experience. So I encourage everyone to really go and see what our Black excellence, Black success, and Black achievement look like around the globe. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you, Jason, for putting this together. I appreciate your servant leadership and your vision with this piece. And I trust that folk get a lot of value out of what happens today. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Rob, I cannot tell you how blessed I was to hear what you had to say. If I could take one moment away, I take many away, and I'll rewatch this and take many more. But you said, to walk around a country where the symbols of success look like me. That's deep. It's powerful, and it's real. And I can hear in your voice and your intonation how it impacted you. And as the divine would have it, what you said sets up our next piece so brilliantly. Couldn't have been planned. So for those of you who are a part of our strategic meeting and planning, so thank you, Rob. Many of you were a part of our strategic meeting and planning. And in that time, as I shared a vision that God put inside of me to put Black success out there, and we debated, well, what's the best way to do this? How can we not just promote Black success, but actually invest in Black success? I started thinking about some ways to monetize this. And rather than put a charge on the event, while we were on the call, there were some spontaneous donations made. Said, I'll donate to the event. Don't charge anything. Let's make this open for the people. And we were given $1,000 worth of funds to provide a grant. And that grant to pay forward to someone who was trailblazing or doing work for Black success and Black excellence. I put out on my Facebook and YouTube pages, we're looking for nominations for individuals who you think well represent Black success. And the individual who was chosen was nominated, and her name is Nicole Bell. She is a student here in a local high school. And Rob, you were talking about watching TV and seeing images of people who look like you. And you have no idea about this because I haven't told anybody who the winner was other than our winner. And Nicole's vision is to create representation for all Black people of all backgrounds to see themselves on screens. She is a young entrepreneur. She is a member of her school's media department, which is, by the way, an award-winning media department that does fabulous things all the time. And I'm so happy, Nicole, to grant you $1,000 towards your further education and the furthering of your vision to bring more Black faces to the screen. And something you said that stood out to me in your nomination submission was regardless, for the normal Black person, not the stereotypical one that we see represented so often in media, at least here in the US. So Nicole, would you share with us a little bit more of your vision and a little bit of your backstory? Because I think it'd be great for people to understand where you came from and what you want to create into the future.
All right, first off, I wanted to say thank you to Jason and just everyone who helped put the grant together. I am so appreciative. You guys don't even understand. So like you said, my name's Nicole, and when I get older, I want to do film and I want to bring more representation for the Black community to the screens. I feel like growing up, anytime I'd watch movies and it had like Black people in it, it was always like a Black struggle film. It was always like 12 Years a Slave. It was always like the Help. It was always like a Black struggle film. And then eventually it started to be like characters that were always, their core background was that like they didn't have their dad or their mom was struggling and all these things. And I always felt like that was always, although it was representation, not every Black person fits that mold. And I truly just want to bring more representation to the screen for Black people of all different walks of life, such as myself. I grew up with not an absent father, but I grew up with separated parents. So I know the struggles of not having a lot of money, but I also know the struggles of having a lot of money. I know the struggles of having a single mom, but also not having a single mom. So just from like having experiences like that where I get to see both sides of how it can be, I wanted to bring more examples of that to the screen. And I want to just like bring spaces for everyone to be like, oh, my life is kind of like that. My life has pieces like that. And yeah, I want to bring a different type of representation than the one I'm used to seeing on my screen. And yeah, that's what I hope I can do with the tuition that was awarded to me.
Thank you, Nicole. And if I could ask a couple of follow-up questions for you. You were on and you heard Rob talk about, seeing faces that look like his on TV and how that inspired him. How does that impact you? And how does that encourage your vision for what you're doing?
I That encourages my vision because I want to be able to be the creator behind people with experiences like that. When people say, "Oh, I saw myself in this piece of media," I want to be able to say, "I helped bring that to you. Like I helped deliver that to you," and I want to be able to have a new generation of people have more examples to see themselves in.
Fantastic. And you're a senior this year,
Yes,
correct? Headed off to college next year. What are the
ma'am.
college plans right now? Have decisions been made, or are you undecided on where you're taking your talents?
I am not undecided. I have several ideas. However, I'm still waiting back for my admission letters. They're supposed to come next week, actually. But the goal is to hopefully go to a UC, such as UC Santa Barbara or UC Santa Cruz, and only because they have good field programs that are also central to LA, so I can get to LA if I need to. But my goals are to eventually I wanna start with the different aspects of film. So, like, I wanna do a little bit of lighting, I wanna do a little bit of sound, I wanna do a little bit of, like, post-production, just to get an overall, like, well-rounded background before I start directing my own works. And then hopefully I can use connections I build off in college to further my, filmmaking abilities.
Fantastic. I love it. Um, as people look to, we have quite an audience with us here today. Is there ways or spaces, places where people can follow the work that you're doing now? I know you, if I'm not mistaken, you won an award already for some submissions that you've done through your high school career. Is that correct?
Yes. So if you want to watch like more informal work I do a segment on my school news called Tiny Mics, where we just go around and film students at our school and just ask them questions. That's more like an informal, casual bit of work that I do. I just submitted a short film for my college applications and for a couple local film festivals. That is more of what I'm trying to do with my personal projects and bringing and trying to tell different types of stories. So it's a story more about my personal life and how I grew up. And you can find that on YouTube. Actually, need to make it public, but you can find it on YouTube. It's Waffles by Nicole Bell.
Waffles, like those things that we like to eat in the morning, right?
Yes.
Awesome, Nicole. Well, thank you so much for sharing some inspiration and light. Let me ask one last question. Who inspires you in your journey towards filmmaking?
Who inspires me? Probably I have to say Marseille Martin. If you've ever heard of Marseille Martin, she is a girl who I want to say she's a year older than me, but she is a director, producer, like head of her own production company. And it's when I see like her do things, I'm like, you're my age and you're still able to like be great. And she's black. So I don't know. I see myself in her and I want to be able to be great like her.
Thank you so much for sharing your inspiration and becoming an inspiration for many of us on stage. Find Nicole Bell on YouTube, Waffles, follow her, and let's continue to support some encouragement. So blessings, Nicole. Thank you. And I look forward to connecting with you and seeing you in person, getting to hand over the funds to you and get that into your school tuition.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it again.
You're welcome. What a blessing. When this vision first began, I wouldn't have imagined that we'd be able so early on to help another person down their road to success. And I look forward, by the way, for many future events. So this is the beginning of something great. We already have plans to do something around Juneteenth. As you're hearing the speakers, many of them have additional coaching and avenues that you can join in directly with them. Please take advantage of that. We're a wonderful array of individuals. And to that regard, our next speaker is Maccabi Parker. She is an author, she is a registered nurse, and she is an inspiration. She is a mother, she is a wife, and her story of survival, faith, and victory is sure to set you moving forward towards a track towards your dreams and your visions. Maccabi, the stage is yours.
Hey, I am honored to share with you my journey of resilience and growth as a Black leader in the healthcare industry. So thank you all for joining me today as we explore some of the challenges that I have faced, the principles that have guided me, and my commitment to personal and professional growth. So a brief little overview and background about myself. I am originally from Zaire. It's also known as the Congo. It is located in Central Africa. I migrated to the US in 1993. I was 13 years old. I left the comfort of my home to start over. What I at the time thought would be this perfect new life was not exactly that. So I had quite some challenges. Number one, I had to learn the language. If you're not familiar with the different areas in Africa, Central African countries are, typically French-speaking countries. So I am fluent in French and in my native language, which is called Lingala. So learning to speak English was definitely a huge barrier and challenge for me, and I had to do that at the age of 13. Number two, I had to learn a new culture, not just about how to speak the language, but also how to communicate with others. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable, the foods, the environment, just the way of life. So that was very challenging for a 13-year-old girl. And I had to play catch up. When you're moving from overseas, automatically you're behind, right? So you have to play catch up. So in my pursuit of excellence in leadership, I have definitely encountered numerous challenges that have tested my resilience and determination. Number one, I am a person of color. I am Black. Number two, I am a woman. I am a Black woman. So from humble beginnings to my current roles as a director of nursing and author, each experiences has shaped me into the individual that I am today. So let's go ahead and delve into my journey and how I have dealt with adversity. So navigating the healthcare industry as a Black leader has presented its own set of challenges. One, your knowledge is often being questioned. Unfortunately, due to what's obviously superficial, the color of your skin, people tend to underestimate you and feel that you're not as worthy. So they often, question your knowledge. Number two, at times, especially in my position of leadership, you do get some resistance. It is unfortunate that people are not exactly accustomed to having to listen to someone who looks like me, a Black woman. So people are not really, accustomed to having someone who looks like me direct them, educate them, instruct them, or as they would say, tell them what to do. So these are some of the challenges in my role that I face. And I want to say that from systemic barriers to personal obstacles, I have confronted these difficulties head on. I refuse to let them hinder who I am as an individual or even my progress. So I continue to strive for success and push forward and push harder. Today, I stand before you as a testament to resilience, demonstrating that challenges are only a stepping stone on the path to success. So, when it comes to resilience and growth, I have learned that resilience is not only about bouncing back from setbacks, but resilience is also about rising stronger and more determined than before. Through adversity, I have discovered the true depths of my strength and the capacity for growth within myself. So, embracing challenges has been the driving force of my personal and professional development. And embracing challenges also has reinforced my commitment to continuous improvement. So, as a Black leader in the healthcare field or industry, I hold strong to key principles that have guided me on my journey: integrity, empathy, and a pursuit of excellence. Those are the foundation of my leadership philosophy: integrity, empathy, and a pursuit of excellence. So, by incorporating these principles to my day to day, I strive to inspire those around me, and I aim for positive change in the healthcare community. I believe that education is valuable. I also believe that education is a foundation of progress, and it is also the key to unlocking one's full potential. So, as I embark on the journey towards obtaining my PhD, I am reminded of the power of knowledge and its ability to shape the future. So, through education, I seek to expand my horizons, deepen my expertise, and contribute meaningfully to my field. So, here is a picture of the book that I wrote, Struggle, Survival, and Faith. Let me share that the art of storytelling has been a powerful tool for me for inspiring change and fostering connection. As an author, I have embraced the opportunity to share my experiences, insights, and challenges with a wider audience. So, as I mentioned, I migrated here at the age of 13, and I had to learn to adapt to a new culture, to a new country. And that was not easy. So, I have written this book to share with others how I got through my most difficult days and some of the very difficult life events I faced, and also how I use them as fuel. So, through writing, I not only aim to spark conversations or to provoke thought, but I also want to empower individuals to embrace and love who they are and to be proud of their own stories of resilience and growth. So, looking forward, my future is defined by a vision of continual growth, impact, and empowerment. As a Black leader, I am committed to realizing my full potential and making a meaningful difference in the lives of others. I find joy in striving for excellence and embracing the limitless possibilities that lie ahead, regardless of our past. So, when it comes to inspiring others, I realize that my journey is not just my own. It is a testament to the power of resilience and perseverance. So, by sharing my story, I hope to inspire others to face challenges with courage, to embrace adversity as opportunity for growth, and to believe in the possibilities that await them. So, please know that we can surmount any obstacle and achieve greatness. And in closing, I wanted to share this, but I also wanted to say that I stand before you as a living example of resilience, determination, and faith. Our difficult past does not define us, but serves as a source of strength and motivation to push us forward to a more promising future. So I encourage you all to embrace challenges, to leverage your experiences, and to seize the opportunities that await. Thank you.
Gabi, appreciate it. And we are all grateful for your inspiration. I also would encourage you, jump onto Amazon, find Maccabi's link, and purchase the book. Have some inspirational reading. Let's go ahead and bring Manny to the stage.
Thank you, Jason. I just want to go back to Maccabi for a second. It's a little backfeed. Maccabi's like a little sister to myself. Her family moved here in '93. My name is Manny, originally from Ghana. I moved to the States in '93 also. And just ironically, Maccabi's two brothers, older brothers, were two of my best friends, when I moved here in '93 as a senior in high school. So go way back with Maccabi, and proud of her journey. I love what she said about resilience. The power of resilience and perseverance. It'll take you far when you learn to be resilient and learn to persevere. Thank you for inspiring others, Maccabi. You've inspired me, and it's awesome to see your book out there. I know young people in Africa reading your book and who are learning and being inspired by your journey. So thank you, Maccabi. With that said, I want to introduce our host, the guy that had the vision for what we're doing today, Jason Purvis. Jason and I have been friends for a long time. I first met Jason in '99 at Faith Community Church. Didn't know him then, but over the last, I would say 14 years, we've been doing life close together. Jason is a father. He's a husband to Carissa, beautiful Carissa, and father to 3 kids. He's got 2 boys and 1 girl, Elisha, Uriah, and Naomi. And Jason is a great leader, as we can see. Part of his vision is why, once again, we're on the Zoom call today. But he's going to talk to us about success, what success looks like. And I'm excited to have him come on. He's in a financial space today and manages a bunch of young advisors who help people learn about financial wellness and financial education. So with that said, thank you, Jason, once again for your vision. Thank you for who you are. You're a man of integrity.
Well, thank you, Manny, for that. I think we're good. Thank you, Manny, for that introduction. I appreciate you. You are an inspiration in my life, help in time of need, and I'm glad to have you in my corner. Having said that, I'm very excited for today and to share with you some real talk about success. So I want you guys to think. Remember when you were a kid? Like a little kid, like 6 years old, right? When you wake up in the morning and the thing that's going to define success for you that day is whether you get to pick the right dodgeball to throw at your rival, Lionel Talavera, across the play yard so that you win the game. Well, that was my definition of success when I was 6 years old. Maybe it was a little bit different for you. Today, for me, success has changed. Success looks different for most of us. And maybe you measure success by time freedom. Maybe you measure success by the attractiveness of your spouse or the number that you see when you step on the scale. Or perhaps you measure success based on what people think about you, the letters behind your name, the letters in front of your name, the commas in your bank account. We all define success in our own unique ways. But I believe success needs to be redefined in the Black community, because so often we've talked about success in the Black community, and it seems that only the elite and the few can get there. But what I've seen in my experiences, as I look around my friend group, Black success is larger and more prominent and more continuous than so many of us have been led to believe. So if we're going to talk about success, I want to know your definitions of success. So go ahead, jump into the chat, activate for yourselves, and tell me, what does success look like to you? What will define success in your world today, in the future? And let's see what our group today would define success as. Generational wealth. Yes, I hear that so often in our community, especially in my field. As you guys continue to type in your definitions of success there in the chat, I'd love to see some more. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I was raised the son of an immigrant and an orphan. And growing up as a kid in an economically depressed area of La Puente, California, we were not wealthy. We did not know people who were wealthy. We did not know people who knew people who were wealthy. In my neighborhood, people worked hard, but life was hard. It was a grind. What I didn't see is much in the way of access towards advancement. I didn't see men and women wearing suits as they went off to work. And that's not to say that wearing a suit makes you any better than anybody else. But what a suit represents is something that's significant to me. They tend to represent you looking to access your best self. I mean, think about, when do we wear suits? They tend to represent things that are when we're trying to access power, when we're trying to access the elevation of our status. We wear suits when we go to job interviews, first client meetings. We wear suits to weddings. Today, I wear a suit every day, and it reminds me not that I'm important, but that I'm looking to access my best self today and bring my best to the table. Today, I'm a follower of Christ, a husband, a father. For the last decade, I've been working to help families plan wealth with numbers that I didn't even believe achievable by regular people. I've been promoted to a leader and executive director for a Fortune 50 company. I've recently achieved the highest designation in my career class, a certified financial planner. Now, here's what's important about that for me. There's only 1,900 Black certified financial planners in the entire world. Less than 2,000 people that look like me hold this designation. There's over 100,000 individuals who are certified financial planners. Less than 2% of them are Black. And I get the privilege and honor of working with people to carry out their financial dreams and their wealth and things that, like I said, when I grew up, I didn't even know this type of wealth existed. Definitely come a long way from La Puente, California. By most worldly definitions, I might be seen as a success. But let's see, what are your definitions of success? Great relationships with God and others. Seeing my daughters calling me dad and appreciating me, my grandchildren also. Legacy, generational wealth. The definition of success is financial freedom, good health and happiness. Having a voice and serving people, vibrant health, my best life. I love these. So many more great ideas of what success looks like in your world. They're great. And I want to cover what it takes to be a real success. And more than that, we're going to have some real talk about success today. And so let's get that on the screen. There we go. We're going to have real talk about success today. And the beginning of real success, as I view it, is our relationships. Relationships are the key to your success. The only measure of success that lasts will be the memories that people hold of you. When you carry on, everything else will be sold, burned, or broken. Your relationships, those moments that you make and share with others, that is what will define your success when you carry forward. Teddy Roosevelt once said, the most important single ingredient to success is how we get along with people. Relationships will elevate your platform. As I look around this room and this stage today, it's filled with others who are able to elevate the vision that I had just 40 days ago because of relationship. One success principle that I learned over the years is that successful people, this is a good time to grab a pen, successful people invest in people and use things. Unsuccessful people invest in things and use people. Successful people invest in people and use things. Unsuccessful people invest in things and use people. You see, because the reality is that success is relationships, and it it breaks down like this. In a Stanford study, 87% of success at the highest levels is based on people knowledge. Your ability to work with, leverage, interact with, read rooms, it's about people. And 13% product knowledge. So what does that mean? We need to be a people who invest in relationships. We need to be a people who will invest in one another, who will come alongside and say, my brother, my sister, how can we together rise up? And in order to rise up, the next thing we're going to need to do to have real success is the E, equipping and empowering. It begins with relationships. It moves on to equipping and empowering. And I want to give you today 2 laws of Mount Kilimanjaro. My good friend Manny there has hiked to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, and he would confirm with you that both of these statements on the screen are true. Supplies are cheaper at the base, and as the challenge escalates, the need for teamwork elevates. What do I mean when I say supplies are cheaper at the base? Let's imagine that Mount Kilimanjaro, we were trying to scale Mount Kilimanjaro. As I looked up this morning, it's 19,341 feet tall, over 3 miles high. And if we were going up that mountain, we got within the last 6,000 feet, and we realized it was a unique tool that we needed to escalate this very last portion of the hike and climb. If I didn't have that tool in my bag, if I wasn't ready, I could have a helicopter come to me and bring that supply to me, and I could implement it and use it for what I need. But I'd be paying an exceedingly high cost for what could be a tool that was purchased for a few dollars if I did it early. You got to equip yourself before you get up the mountain. Also, you got to know that you're not going to make the highest heights alone. 2 people who exemplify these principles very well, 2 basketball players. We'll start with Steph Curry. I love Steph Curry, and the Steph Curry principle is to fill your bag first. The reason why I use Steph to exemplify this moment is Steph Curry has widely been regarded as one of the greatest dribblers of the basketball in the history of the game. He has elite skills. And yet every game, if you go to a Golden State Warriors game, show up 2.5 hours early, watch Steph on the floor practicing the very fundamental of the game. Even though he's already at elite status, he's practicing. Not only does he practice things that he could possibly do, but he practices, as you see in this drill with 2 basketballs, something that would actually be illegal to do in the game. He makes it harder for himself in practice than it will be in the game. Beloved people, let me tell you, if we are going to elevate, if we are going to be a real success, we have to train hard. We have to develop skill sets. We've got to get in and we've got to grind to go to the next level. We've got to equip ourselves, fill our bag first, whatever that means for you in your particular environment. Do the extra work. The next basketball player that I want to use to exemplify this idea of equipping and empowering is LeBron James. LeBron James is talked about for many things on the court, but right now I want to look at him off the court as we see him with his three best friends, Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, and Randy Mims. A couple of those names you recognize, a couple you may have not ever heard of. But the LeBron James principle is everybody eats, because LeBron has kept this group of tight-knit individuals next to him, and as he elevated, he made sure that they come along for the ride. He is an individual who will not allow his own success to separate him from his environment, but in fact embraces who he is, where he's from, and ensures that as he is successful, he raises others around him. So to be a real success, you're going to need to fill your bag first. Develop your skill set. But as you elevate, real success is going to empower somebody else to come alongside of you, come along behind you, or maybe even at times propel someone in front of you. Because that is what it takes to be a real success. We equip and we empower. To be a real success, the next thing that we need to be acutely aware of is our attitude. It's been said that people won't go along with you if they can't get along with you. You've got to have a good attitude. And I know sometimes it's the popular thing to say that, well, this is just me. I am who I am. But the reality is you could be letting who you are limit who you could be. If you're not willing to work on your attitude, if you're not willing to work on how you appear when you come forth in the world, whether that's at your job, whether that's at your home, whether that's in your ministry, whether that's in your entrepreneurial business, in your schooling, you've got to come with the right attitude, because I tell you, attitude can shift everything. Psychologists have studied executives and CEOs when they're looking to promote people. And they've asked them, what is it that you're looking for when you're looking to find someone who's promotable? It begins that there are 5 keys that they found executives look for to promote individuals. The first one is ambition. Do you want to go somewhere? Do you want to do something? What are you about? And I'd say that's kind of attitude. The second one is skill set. We just talked about that. Build your bag. But the last 3 are all attitude. Attitude towards the company. Do you believe in what we're doing? Are you a part of this vision? Will you carry it forward? Attitude towards people. When you show up, when you hit the environment, are people happy that you are there? Attitude towards extra work. Are you willing to put in the extra work to do something? Or are you, hey, my time is mine. I clock in, it's 9 to 5, baby. 5:01, that's me. That's okay. But if you're going to limit, you're going to be limited. So do you have an attitude that's willing to grow, a growth mentality? Do you seek joy? Do you find joy in the things around you? Do you make the right decisions about which way you're going to go when you're faced with the crossroads where you could be frustrated or you could choose to inspire? What will you do when you have one of those lesson learning opportunities? Are you thankful and grateful when you wake up in the morning? Are you willing to say, do you wake up in the morning and you say, oh God, it's morning? Do you wake up in the morning and you say, thank God, it's morning. I got breath in my lungs. I got vision in my eyes. I got the ability to accomplish the things that have been set inside of me. A right attitude will take you far. Leadership expert John Maxwell has said, a poor attitude is the #1 disqualifier of people in their life. And let me tell you, an attitude can change who you are. It's pretty universally regarded and accepted that the lion is the king of the jungle, right? That is a globally accepted thought process, that the lion is the king of the jungle. But what's really interesting about the lion is that the lion is actually, if it just thought about itself in a certain way, if it just made comparisons about itself, it would recognize that it's completely disqualified from being the king of the jungle. Why? I mean, think about it. Is the lion the biggest in the jungle? No, that's the elephant. Is the lion the fastest? No, that's the cheetah. Is it the tallest? That's a giraffe. It's not the strongest. That's the rhino. It's not the smartest. That's the monkey. It's not even the most flexible. For crying out loud, that's the snake. And on top of that, the lion's lazy. I don't know if you've ever been to a zoo, a wild animal park, or on a safari. You go and you go to the lion's den. You know what you find them doing most often? Sleeping, laying down, doing nothing. So we've got someone who's not big, tall, fast, strong, smart, flexible in the ear. They're even lazy. But the difference, what makes the lion the king of the jungle, is it believes that it is. And when it gets up, there's one thought in its mind. Of all those other animals, you know what it thinks about them? Lunch. The lion has an attitude that it's the king of the jungle, and it will go out on the prowl and it will be victorious. It doesn't matter that you're bigger than me. It doesn't matter that you're stronger than me. It doesn't matter that you're faster than me. I'm the lion, and I will succeed. When it roars, it paralyzes its prey. And so the lion makes a choice about its attitude, a choice to live by choice, not by chance, to be motivated and not manipulated, to be useful and not used, to make changes and not excuses, to excel and not compete. Oh, to excel and not compete. We don't have to compete amongst one another. There's enough for all of us to eat. Choose self-esteem, not self-pity. Choose to listen to your inner voice and not the random opinions of others. The lion has an attitude that makes it a real success. Finally, what is it going to take to be a real success? It's going to take leadership. Leadership within yourself to begin with. Because leaders develop daily, not in a day. You know, there is no overnight success. Every overnight success story is filled with a bucket of work that they did when you weren't watching. And if you're going to develop daily, you're going to need a coach. So my question to you is, who's your coach? You know, the best skilled people often have the best coaches to actually reach success. And I would tell you, a good coach can elevate your skills and isolate your weaknesses. A good coach will elevate your skills, your strengths, and isolate your weaknesses. Think about Michael Jordan, often regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time. But until he had a great coach who could hone in on him and hone in on his strengthnesses, isolate his weaknesses, then he won championships. So I want to help you find some time. I want to help you and encourage you to find some time to develop daily. Invest in yourself. The first thing you'll invest with is your time, because it's free and it's easy. Show up early, stay late, do the extra work. If you want to be a real success, go the extra mile. Successful people never stop at requirements. They do what's necessary. Read books that challenge you. Those are almost free. You get a library card, you can get a subscription, you can borrow books, you can buy some if you need to, buy Maccabees. You will find books that challenge you and inspire you, will help you raise your level of leadership. Pay for developmental courses, even when it's not required. When you do the unrequired, you'll get the unexpected. It's been said that luck is what happens when opportunity meets preparation. Are you going to be prepared when that opportunity arises its head so that you can get lucky enough to be the person who receives a grant? Or as some would say it in our community, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Stay ready, folks. Stay ready. Make sure you're prepared ahead of time. And I would encourage you to get yourself in proximity to greatness. The last point I'd like to leave you with today, to be a real success on leadership, is that leadership is about others. We look at this line and it reminds me of a story about my young son, Uriah. My wife and I were leading the children's ministry at our church, and it was time to take the kids out to the playground. In our church, to go to the playground, you go out the back door and kind of around a portion of the building. And every kid, where does every kid want to be? If there's going to be a line, they want to be in the front. I want to be the leader. My young son this day got to be the leader of the line. And as we were walking around, he was going so fast. He was moving and he was trying to lead everybody and get to the playground. And I said, son, why are you going so fast? He said, Dad, I'm the leader. I need to be there first. And I took a moment, quietly knelt down beside him and said, son, being the leader isn't about being there first. It's about making sure everybody else in line gets there too. So as you lead, you have to show them the pathway. You have to make sure that those who you're leading are able to follow you. Sometimes that means you have to slow down, even though you know you could get there faster on your own. We're going to be real leaders. We need to be encouraging people alongside of us, bringing people through the process. Today, I was able to share with you that being a real success means you need to work on your relationships, equip and empower your attitude, and your leadership. I want to invite you to a mastermind that I'm going to be doing in just about 24 days. I would love to have you join me as a part of this mastermind. It will be virtual. It will be digital. This is something that is usually charged in the neighborhood of $3,000 for corporations. But for this group, for my people, for those of you who have joined in this vision, I'll be hosting this mastermind at no cost. You can scan the QR code and in the Book Now section of my website, provide your information, tell us that you want to be a part of the mastermind. You can also text mastermind to the number you see on the phone, and I'll include you in the list so that we can go deeper, because each one of these high-level points that I just shared today has an entire segment that we can uncover and not just have inspiration about how to be a real success, but to equip you with the tools to do it. So I'd love to have you join my mastermind coming up here in just about 24 days. It's going to be an exciting time, and I look forward to seeing you there. And thank you for your time today. It is my pleasure as we step out of that moment and into our next. It is my pleasure to bring on to our stage Marcus Pitts. Marcus is one half of the power couple that many of you have seen through their social media sensation of a bakery business. They exploded through COVID. They did wonderful things, and they have a vegan bakery called Southern Roots Vegan Bakery. It is great food that's good for you. Marcus is going to share with us a little bit of their story, as well as share with us how they are scaling and expanding and some of the unique challenges that has created for them and what they're doing to overcome them. So with that, let me pass it to you, Marcus. I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to say.
Absolutely, and thank you, Jason, for this opportunity to be able to speak at this event. It's definitely much needed, and again, I appreciate all the time that everyone's taking to sit here and listen and learn and grow. And all the speakers that came before me, excellent job. I could really just pick pieces out of what they were saying to kind of illustrate what it is that I was going to talk about today. And like Jason said, my name is Marcus Pitts. My wife Kara and I are entrepreneurs, and we need to divide and conquer today. But we get to do this full time by the grace of God, we believe. And what I would like to do is, for my segment, is really kind of tell a story and have it more conversational for the purposes of maybe inspiring and for people to get to know us and learn what we do and share some insights of what we've done and be able to accomplish as business owners. So I guess I'll kind of start from the beginning, but you know, born and raised, my wife and I were both born and raised here in San Antonio, Texas. We're both San Antonio natives. You know, we've traveled a little bit, never really lived anywhere else. And, you know, this is where home is. And as they say, everything is bigger in Texas. So, you know, we kind of tried to live up to that. And I always do my best to think big and things of that nature. But, you know, we, like I said, went born and raised here, and we actually met at work. We were in the healthcare industry, worked at United Healthcare when we met. And, you know, I've always kind of had the inkling or inspiration, entrepreneurial spirit or inspiration to be an entrepreneur. Grew up very middle class. Both my parents were in healthcare. They both worked in a hospital in the radiology department. I'm the oldest of all my siblings. We have a blended family. My parents, you know, we didn't grow up with a two-parent household. My parents actually split when I was 2. My younger brother was 1, and you know, it was us and my dad. He's the one that raised us. My mom, you know, she was in the picture, but you know, they just, you know, co-parented separately, and that's just kind of how it was. So I didn't ever think anything about it. And we had a blended family later on. I have some step siblings now. They're like family as well, and that was kind of just, you know, my upbringing, my background, you know, loving, caring, you know, typical, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word. It had its ups and downs, but that's what it was. Now, you know, when my wife and I met, we became a blended family because I have a 18-year-old. He's 18 now, just turned 18, and you know, she's been his bonus mom for a majority of his life. But you know, that's just kind of how we were going through life, just average, nothing super special, no, you know, excessive trauma or whatever the case may be, like a lot of typical stories there was. But you know, that's kind of what we what we do from what we're doing from a day to day. And so in that, though, because again, this isn't just some kind of crystal stairway up to success and where we are now. When we started the business, this was try to get my timeline together because things kind of happen quickly. It was around 2019, really. But what was the catalyst for that was I was working at United Healthcare. And we had watched a documentary. It was called What the Health, and that actually inspired me to have a lifestyle change. We were in a few network marketing companies, and so that kind of set me on the path towards personal growth. And I was, you know, reading books and things of that nature, stuff that I didn't normally do. And one book that changed my whole thinking was Think and Grow Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. That's what set the light bulb off, and it wanted me to be better, do better, be a leader, live longer, healthier, better. So the documentary inspired me to become plant-based. So, you know, I'm a pretty much lights on, lights off kind of guy, like all in or nothing. And so I, you know, halfway through it, I tell people all the time, I was eating chicken while we were watching it. I wasn't born a vegan or anything like that. I didn't expect to have that change, but a lot of things I thought that were just programmed things of, you know, most of us have growing up about food and food culture. Didn't really add up with what I was hearing. So I did my research, did my due diligence, and I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense. So again, that night I decided to go vegan. My wife, you know, she teeters. She loves cheese, so it's been a little bit of a up and down for her. But you know, I made the choice to go all in, and so that's what inspired the lifestyle change. She was always a baker. She goes back all the time in her story to tell about her Easy Bake Oven days. And so that's and she went in the kitchen and made vegan treats because we couldn't find anything to go out to eat and eat it. And especially here in South Texas, if anybody knows, it's all about barbecue and beer down here. So, you know, that's where we were. And so that's what inspired us to start the baking side of it. And we would give it out to friends and family and people at our church. We were in the church and just taking it there just to give out donations. And people were like, yo, these are really good. You got to sell them. So fast forward a little bit, you know, my job I was working at, the department got completely shut down just like the next day. We kind of saw it coming, but we didn't really expect it to happen. So they got shut down. I pretty much was unemployed that same day, and so I took out my 401k and had put into the employee stock program at the time where I was working, and that was our little nest egg because I just took it as a sign to just go all in with the business. We had gotten our LLC and we're doing pop-ups and things of that nature, and we were still baking out of the home at that time. So with that nest egg, we had our bills covered because my wife had quit actually the year earlier to take care of her grandma, who is now 101. Her birthday just passed as well, and so she's been a big inspiration in our story, especially for my wife. Because family is just huge with us, and so the business was started, and we had made the decision again to be plant-based with the baked goods. So we were really in a niche position, and so what happened was in 2019 we were rocking and rolling, and we got in front of a vegan influencer at the time. She was smaller than she is now, but she still had a huge influence. And we met with her. She tried our product and wanted us to ship them to us, and that's what birthed our online e-commerce site. Because at the time we didn't know anybody that was shipping plant-based baked goods, let alone baked goods at the time. So we figured it out. And that actually had us have a little viral moment. That was our first exposure of being viral. And so we got a bunch of orders and had to figure out the shipping aspect and the packaging and all that. And in that lesson, we weren't ready, but we had to be flexible and adaptable. Like many of the speakers, I picked up a theme of what everybody was saying about success and Black excellence. Like, you have to be adaptable. It's difficult to be successful and be rigid at the same time. There's so many. I like to say, it's been said before, the only thing constant in life is change. And so being adaptable is paramount. So that, again, accelerated us to be able to ship nationwide. We hit all 50 states, and then COVID hits. As many of you know, it shook the world, turned everything upside down. We were fortunate enough to be already shipping online, which was good. But again, our platform and our customer base was nowhere near where it needed to be. And unfortunately, during the Black Lives Matter movement, at the height of that, we were picked up in a vegan publication of, top 10 Black businesses that ship online. And we had no idea that we were picked up in this publication. And so when we were, the next day, back up a little bit, our church had started a building fund. And our pastor was encouraging everyone to sow seeds and participate in it. And we really love our church. Again, they were a big inspiration for us even starting. And so we sowed the biggest seed that we had ever done before at that time, and just in faith. Just we figured we wanted to go and do that, and so we did that night. And the next morning we woke up and we had thousands of orders clinging on our phone. Just the cash register noise was dinging constantly nonstop from our Shopify site. And that's really what kind of put us on the path to where we are now. And that, again, we were in a commercial kitchen at the time, but it was a very small space. We needed to grow and scale very quickly because there was no way we were going to be able to fulfill all these orders. So we leveraged some contacts that we had, linked up with a bakery in San Antonio, and that allowed us to scale our business and be able to mass produce. Because we never thought of ourselves as just a bakery per se. We never really wanted to just be up early hours making dough and serving cakes and things like that. We always thought, my wife specifically, I'm grateful for her and her vision of always wanting to grow a brand and be that brand recognition that, Black excellence that we are today. That is all due to her. I give her all the credit in the world. If it was up to me, I'd be like, well, we just got to do what we got to do to make this money. Like, it doesn't matter how we get there as long as we get there, right? But anyway, so the next thing you know, we were able to scale, and one of our mentors helped us with that. And to that, I'll say, scaling, especially in business, whatever it is you do, do it well. But when you need to scale, and grow, especially when you're not ready. You need someone to kind of guide you and have an idea of what that looks like. So we didn't expect to see any of this coming. But we just again had to be adaptable and kind of roll with it and learn as we went along. And so we had to hire staff and do all these things. And we were doing well, but when, and again, I'll kind of go catch myself up to what I was saying. After we sowed that seed and we had all those orders, again, that seed was multiplied like 100 times. God just went ahead and showed out, right? And we knew that it wasn't going to stay at that level. We were going to have to keep going out, marketing, and doing all these other things. And when sales eventually did slow down, that's when things had to kind of hit us. So we made it through most of 2020 and 2021 okay, when a lot of people were really kind of struggling. And so we kind of caught COVID on the back end. So when sales did slow down, we ended up having to let people go. It got to the point where, we needed to sell our car just to make payroll, one of our cars just to make payroll. And that was rough, it was one of those things. And, but we kept going, we kept persevering, did what we had to do, even though we were a small but mighty team. We always had, again, this vision of being a staple in the food industry, just healthy baked goods, healthy foods, because especially in our community, food is directly connected to what it is you put in. It's the same with your mind. What you get in is what you get out. And, if you eat junk food and crazy stuff all day, it might not have the best result as if you were eating fruits and vegetables most of the time. So we wanted to make Southern Roots a household name. And so keeping that in mind, keeping that vision ahead of us, we did what we had to do. And we were able to go to what was called Plant-Based Expo back in it was in New York, and this was 2022, I think it was. And we ended up meeting the director for a grocery retail chain. She liked us, loved our product, and that's a slow burn for anybody that knows hopping into the retail space. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of negotiating, things of that nature. But now we're actually we launched last November in Sprouts. We're in 150 locations, all the ones in California and Texas. And that's just been major for us. And we never thought looking back, 15, 20 years ago, I never thought in a million years that I would be the owner of a vegan bakery and I'd be vegan myself where I am now. Like I always knew and thought big and thought, I'd be a success some kind of way. But this, was all God and I couldn't plan this. I couldn't even really make this up. This is kind of how these things happen. And so with that, we've been able to scale again, brought on some new partners that are able to make us or help us be able to produce at the level that we need to be, because we were really, my wife and I and one other person, and sometimes my son, we'd all be in the bakery just baking away, just doing what we can to kind of fulfill these large orders, because again, with retail, and that's not even all the Sprouts, it's like 400 stores, but we knew with our capacity where we're at to start, we needed to start small. And now with the partners we've been able to bring on, we're able to scale up again and really, really know and understand what it is to mass produce at that level. And from now, and again, this is all just like recently happened within the last 2 months, which has been amazing. It's been exciting. There's so much more yet to come from us. And, hope you guys, you can follow us and go with us on this journey, because our goal, not just to, be super successful. I've never really wanted the fame. I know money is it's a tool. It's a tool to get where we want to go. But, in order to be a household name, to be a billion-dollar company or multi-billion-dollar company, the point of all that is to reach back, help others come forward, and bring them along with you. Each one teach one. I'd much rather be, because there's the 80-20 rule that everybody knows. 20% is the 80% is done by 20. The top 20%. And in business, I've found that to be true. And so we don't need everyone to be an entrepreneur. We don't everyone to be millionaires or things like that. We just need everyone to do their job, and some do it exceptionally well, and they can help a rising tide lifts all boats. I say it all the time. And that's what we want to do with our business and, things of that nature, and like Jason was saying, the attitude. what's up here. This is your strongest muscle. I tell my son and all the young people that I have influence over all the time. This is always and always will be your strongest muscle. So the more you exercise that, the more that you feed it good things, the better off you'll be in life, and the more you'll be able to inspire and grow and build and things of that nature. And so to believe in yourself and the faith, whatever that may be, you definitely need to keep that at the forefront. Keep your principles always in front of you, and lead with love. And that's what we try to do our best at doing. And hopefully we'll be able to do this for many, many, many more decades to come. But that's our story in a nutshell. I wish, I hope that I was able to convey my thoughts clearly, and this was of some value to someone that's in this space or looking to be an entrepreneur, and just know that you can do it. Link yourself up with the right people, be a leader, be the best you can be, and the rest will just fall into place. With that, I thank you for the time, everyone that you spent here with me, and thank you for allowing me to share.
Marcus, thank you so much for your inspiring story, for your commitment to providing quality food and healthy food within our community and all, holistically. I know you're not only marketing to the community. Congratulations on the deal with Sprouts. I've got one here locally. I need to go run by and pick up some of your goods. And as I listened to your story, there's a couple of things that truly stood out to me. One side of that is the realness that you shared with us as an entrepreneur. Even seeing heights and success, but the pathway to the top is never a straight line. And I think there are so many people who find some adversity, find some struggle, and it's time that that's the time that they exit. As you continue to press forward, you found new levels of success and acceleration. So proud of you and your family and your journey. Thank you for sharing that with us. As we pivot to our last speaker of the day, I do want to actually encourage all of you who are on online, whatever various platform you're using. We are, after Dr. Ogona shares with us today, we are going to be doing a panel with all of our speakers who were able to remain on, that you can ask questions. We've got a few things that we will be, we've pre-prepared to ask individuals, but we would love to hear any questions that you may have, whether they're direct or to anybody generally on the panel. We'd love to have some participation. So you can drop those comments in the chat. We will do our best to take a look at them and ask those that may be appropriate. Having said that, let me now pivot to my new friend, and who I hope to become a very good friend as we've connected around this vision to create more avenues for Black success. Dr. Ugonna Nwajabi. Tell me how I did there. All right, I've been practicing.
75%.
Thank you, Dr. Ugonna, for joining us today. Also, thank you for hosting on your platform. This has been a tremendous success, and you handling all the work in the background has been tremendous value, and I appreciate that. I do want to hand you the stage so you can talk to us about how you are building some things forward, some of your great story of success from Nigeria to America to being a research scientist, and all the great works that you've done and what you're doing to give back to the community. And please tell us how we can connect and contribute to the great work that you're doing in the country.
Thank you so much, Jackson, for sharing your stage with me. So, and again, I want to thank you in a special way for giving me the opportunity to be here. I've been blessed personally listening to these great speakers and the lives they have lived. I'm truly blessed. So, and today I understand why people wear suits. So I wasn't initially on a suit, but immediately you said it, I went to my wardrobe and put on my suit. So it is a lot of learning. And the story here today is not only my story, but is the story of our family, story of faith, story of the grace of God, and the story of living the life you want to live, even if you don't have it all figured out. So I had initially prepared a talk, but through the presentation, I've dished my talk and I'm going to speak from my heart as a summary to all these beautiful lessons we have had today. So this story is about my parents, those who gave me life, and their contribution to the community. So I am a son, and their son. I'm equally a husband to the pretty Sammy, and our two beautiful sons, and more to come. It's a brother to seven wonderful siblings, and they're the best in the world. They have lived most of these stories we're talking about here today. I would always say that I have the strong support system, that all through the college or through what I've been, I didn't need any affirmation from anybody about my worth, because I essentially got that from family. No wonder I only got a real girlfriend when I was 32 years. So, because I had an overdose of love and really never needed any from outside. So they taught me love. Family taught me love. Family taught me how to be friends with others. So people will say that I have a PhD in making friends. So I'm glad I'm already Jesse's friend. So because they taught me to look out for the need of others. And that is what we are doing today. But our journey started from a family. So I was born poor, but I was raised rich. What do I mean by that? My parents were from very humble background. My father was an elementary school teacher, and my mother was a petite trader. So, but these two people were lions, and they were lion and lionesses in their own right. So my father was the most intelligent man I have ever known, and my mother is an Amazon, is a woman leader, a great woman of sort. So they look through their children and believe we have potentials. But the only way those potentials could be realized if they give them power through education. They love education, and they went through great sufferings, through great sacrifices to make sure we get the best of education. So while we lived in a mud house, that is the poorest house anyone can ever live in, we went to the best of schools. We went to the best of schools. So they prioritize and know that a man who lived in a mud house today can build mansions tomorrow. But a man who had mansions today can move back to the mud house if preparations were not made. So they choose to invest in us. That's why, as poor as they were, all the eight of us got higher education, tertiary education. And today we are all, to the glory of God, being examples in our different communities. So my pivot to education was born by this, that they have already paved the way, that education is the key. So earlier on, I realized that education is an equalizer. What that means is the way I realize there are two ways people can rise to prominence easily. You can rise to prominence through crime. A lot of us know Pablo from Colombia. So people will know you. Another way you can easily rise through prominence is through education. So I head on to it, and I was that if I were to be anything in this world, I have to study studious. I have to be studious with my work at school so that I can be the best possible. So I started my journey through the university where I went to Nandi Azikiwe University, and I I did my best, and realizing the economic situation of Nigeria, I realized that if I was able to make a first class, I would not need to look for a job. Or rather, the university would employ me because that was the policy of the university. So that made it possible that I graduated as the third first class graduate from the Department of Applied Biochemistry in 2010. And I went off to serve National Youth Service, as what you call it in Nigeria, at ExxonMobil. Upon the completion of my National Youth Service, I went back to the university where I was employed as a graduate teaching assistant. So concurrently, I was doing my master's. So in my role as a lecturer in the university, I met students who had real struggles. Real struggles, you say that some of them miss the exams. Some of them do not come to school some days. And I was very close to my students. And that's the part of the job I truly enjoy. So some you would call on the phone, why didn't you come to school today? They'd be like, I didn't have any transport fare to come. And that was a big pain. The students could not attend to their studies because of lack of funds. So I had the need was established in my soul that something has to be done. But I was, again, lecturers are not rich. Lecturers are not rich. So, but I did the much I can that my office, as small as it was a circle where students can come. If we have meal, we share. So that was the LeBron James principle, everybody eats. So we were able to share what we had as well as lift them up and to tell them that the challenges were momentary. We solved the problems we could. But then, having been in the university for 5 years and I finished my master's within that period, I knew that for me to make real impact, I needed to do more. And to do more, I need to go where science is so that I can write the zenith of my career. And then I could have the financial power to influence the life of these young people by supporting them financially through the education. So in 2017, early 2017, I applied for a PhD program. And this is where the grace of God comes in. So the grace of God there was, I made only one graduate school application and I got admission as well as full funding. It took only a year after I got into Auburn. In 2018, after a year I was in Auburn, I met a student who told me that he got admission into Auburn in 2017, the year I applied. He got the scholarship and admission, but he was sick. And because he was sick, he could not come he couldn't come. So he wrote the department that he wouldn't make it. So I knew at that moment that it was a sport that I took. Why did I arrive at that conclusion? Usually the Auburn University admission closes by December 5th. But I applied by late January. I applied around the 20th of January. By the time I applied, the admission decisions have already been made. So it was easy for me to deduce it was the student who didn't pick up his admission that I took his slot. That was the grace of God. So upon joining Auburn in 2017, I joined a new professor, Monica Raj, central to my story too, who taught me hard work in its real sense. So as a new professor, he needed to be an associate professor and a full professor too. So we worked hard. We established the lab practically, and we went into the hard work of being science. In the process, I had publications, I had patents, I had media attention of my work, where we are trying to discover diagnostic tools to detect in cancer. So with the amount of work we've done, in addition to all that great work being done by other lab members, he was able to get another appointment to move to Emory, one of the best universities in the world. So when I was in Nigeria, I couldn't have imagined that the PhD I would start in Auburn, that I would end it at Emory. So in 2020, we moved to Emory to continue my PhD. And that was where I graduated in 2022. But Emory is important to the story of the bridge for a reason. So in 2021, less than a year after we got into Emory, there was an advertisement for a scholarship that is given annually to students. So the name of this scholarship is William Diskin Award. So this scholarship is given to students in recognition of our research excellence. And I did apply for that. When I applied for it, there was, how can you get this? You just came to Emory. And there was a notion that there might be other people that were much more qualified. I was seeing myself losing getting the award. So I sat down in my office and prayed to God. God, if you give me this award, I would dedicate it to the dream you have already laid in my heart. The dream to start a scholarship fund for the suffering students in Nigeria. While I was still kneeling, I wrote the names of the board members, the vision builders who would support me with a dream. And I texted my beautiful wife, Sami, who is equally God. I call her Olujimi, that is God's gift. She's God's gift to me. So I told her, if this application we are making, if we get this money, we will use it to start the bridge. And she didn't have problem with that. Remember, the money hadn't even come, but we had already proposed what the money would be for. So I prayed and forgot about the application. About a month later, I got an email saying, congratulations, you are the winner of the scholarship. In that way, we got $5,000. And that is the seed fund that we use to start the Bridge Scholarship. So every dream is texted. When this money came, and the period before before the establishment, we had a baby coming, my second son. As a poor graduate student who had $5,000 in his account, I was living in a less desirable accommodation to fend for my dear wife and my young child, Chidum, and a new one was coming. So and there was a temptation. We could use this money because we really needed it. We needed this money. But the dream was so powerful. And I remembered what my parents taught me. You can be uncomfortable if what you have can make another person a little bit more comfortable. So we went ahead with the dream. So with the vision planner, saw the board members. So everybody whose name was on that list is a board member today. So we called and we started preparing. And to the glory of God, on March 25th, 2022, we got incorporated in Nigeria. 3 things happened on that date, March 25th. That was the eve to the birth of my second son, Chibifem. It was that day too, while we were actually in the theater waiting the arrival of our dear son, that my appointment letter with Amgen came in the same day. So I knew for sure that God was in the dream. So we went to work immediately, placed advertisements, and for students to apply. So the scholarship is meant for students who are poor, whose parents might have struggled to put them through school, but are struggling in school, to be a leeway for them to have, so their parents could have some respite and the students can concentrate on their dreams. This was our own way of creating generational wealth, our way of bridging from poverty to wealth, our own way of creating leaders that do not think only of themselves, leaders that think of others, leaders who know that when one person succeeds, every other person succeeds. I think that is the vision of everybody else. So for you to have such leaders, they have to see someone who has lived that story, who doesn't have it all figured out. That's why we started the bridge. Only when I was a graduate student. I didn't even have a job there. So with Application Act, we receive about 300 applications. And going through the applications, some of these brought us to tears about the challenges the students were going through. But I had only $5,000. And we needed to be sure we could sustain this for a while. So we were only able to accept 13 students that year. We actually proposed to start with 10, but with the story, we had to move on to 13. There were 3 students we could not say no to. So we admitted 13. And this, I can tell you, we call everybody, every of our scholar family. These students, they're truly brilliant. We have already, as of today, we have 7 graduates already. Almost all of them graduating top from their classes, first class graduates. Those those studying medicine, they have distinctions in their classes. And our choices were validated that really we made the right choice. And these people can change tomorrow. And again, we are very certain that they will be able to give back to the society. So with that said gone, last year we put out an application for a second student, for a second cohort, where we advertised this scholarship to every student in Nigeria in public universities. And we got nearly 1,300 applications. Remember, we had only $5,000, which was already gone down. So I started. Usually when application came in, I would just look through what they were writing. Again, these stories were valid. These stories were valid. And when I was taking a shower one day, and God ministered to me, talk to your friends. So on October 31st of 2023, I called my friends, mainly graduate students or students coming out of graduate school, all Nigerians, because I believe we need to solve the problem coming from our environment. We should be able, as Black people, to solve our own problem. I called them and shared the dream with them. And in sharing the dream with them, they rose up to that challenge. And we continued our campaign. And as of today, we had gathered about 5.2 million naira from that single campaign, where I put how much my family will contribute and my friends, some of them coming to say, I will take care of 2 students. I will take care of 5 students. I will take care of 6 students. And because of that, we were able to offer additional opportunity to 30 students, making the number of students we have touched today to be 43. So it is, as I always say, the story is about these young people who, instead of thinking about their own comfort, were able to say, I will sponsor these students because they believe in the future of the students. And one can ask me, what are we doing right now? How much does it really take to sponsor these students? So in Naira, every student under us, from the study we did with my university, that 120,000 Naira can pay their school fees, as well as pay for the accommodation if they decide to live in the university hostel. That is the market survey we did. But having gone further than my alma mater, we are realizing that that money is not sufficient for each of the students. So the board is resolved to increase probably by next year. So right now the students receive 120,000 naira. And you know how much that is in dollars? That is about $100. That is much more than the subscription for a TV. So if you put that money for 4 years, you can proudly say you sponsored somebody through school. And it is equally important that I punctuate that the funding landscape for schools in Nigeria and in most African countries are not, the funding landscape is not exactly the same with the US. Here you can have financial aid. Here you can find a student loan. But parents struggle through to pay for their students' school fees in Nigeria. Most parents do not have the means, but they believe that it is only through education that the future of their children can be secure. So they go to the straight to the length of borrowing from A to pay B. I saw my parents do it. When you come back to school, from school, and you tell them I need to go back, and they have to go to somebody's house to borrow. So another person has to borrow to make that possible. So that is what is obtainable. And I believe that as a people, if we work together, we can touch more lives. And our doors are always open to having more people who can partner in this dream. It is about significance. It's about making the life of other person better. And it is about leaving a legacy. Dr. McCain talked about the legacy. Legacy. What will your legacy be? What will your legacy be? Will your legacy be only remembered for what you did for your immediate family members? You are put here for a reason. But the other question is, there are people out there who have no one to call if they have $100 problem. They have no relative to talk to who can solve that problem. But I believe your family can solve that. It is always a blessing to reach out to those persons who have no one to rely on. So the story and the journey so far is dedicated to all parents who are truly struggling to say that their children have a better education, have a better life. And I would conclude with a disclaimer. I believe too that people can rise to prominence through other means, through entrepreneurship, very valid, of course, through sports, through other varied means. Yeah, but my path has been through education. So why I punctuate that, I do not I do not mean to say that other routes are invalid too. So, but if there are young people in our midst who needs to be raised through the pathway of education, we as a community owe it to them to be there for them. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me this stage. This year I was praying for God to give me a voice, to give me a message. But it came fast that already I had a platform and the message is already here. So be blessed. And I believe we have much of Black people to celebrate in the future. Be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogona. Truly, truly inspiring, and what a blessing. I get emotional when I hear that. And I see even in the chat just how blown away we are. It is a $100 problem to send a student in Africa to university to achieve a medical, that's an entire year towards a medical degree, an engineering degree, a science degree. These are not unintelligent individuals. These are not people who have a low bar of success. They're high bar of success. They just have a higher bar of obstacle to get them there. I am so appreciative that you have built a bridge to help more reach the levels of success that you have. And I'm inspired. I am challenged. As I look at what I spend my money on, what better things we can do to raise up our community. So thank you for that, Dr. Ogona. And at this time, I'd like to bring all of our speakers and Manny onto the stage. We are going to go through a bit of a panel. So for those who were able to stick around, we appreciate it. Fantastic. As that's happening, I have asked all the speakers to drop their links in the chat where we can follow up with them later. So it may show up on Facebook or YouTube, wherever they are. But if the speakers, if you can go in through Facebook and drop your links where we can follow up with you, or we can connect with you, whether it be for coaching and access to your book, access to your good food. We want to make sure that the people have an opportunity to do that. So go ahead and drop your links in the chat. I am privileged to pass the ball over to one of my best friends on the planet, Mr. Emmanuel Idai. And he has quite a story of his own that we didn't even get into today, but we will have him, I'm sure, as one of our featured speakers in a future event. Today, he'll operate as our host and moderator for this panel. So, Manny, the floor is yours. And speakers, feel free to answer the question that would seem, if you feel called out to add your 2 cents, everybody jump in.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, and thank you, speakers. What an amazing couple hours we've had. So much information, so much knowledge. I hope those that are still on, those that have been able to stay with us last couple hours and are able to stay a little longer for this question and answer session, I hope you were blessed. The first question I have is, and any one of you can feel free to answer it once again. Before I ask the question, no. One of the things that is very, very noticeable about success, right? About success, this idea of success, excellence, Black success, Black excellence is a big component of it that has to do with leadership, right? As we are experiencing the success, that fulfillment, that contentment, because we have purpose, we're to lead others, and so a big part of success is leadership. With that said, the question I have for you, the first question I have for the panel here is, what is one way you would encourage the next leaders behind you? So you guys are all leaders in different spaces. How do you encourage the leaders that are coming up behind you guys? Anyone that anyone can answer that question, please.
I do my best to lead by example, in the sense that I model what it is, be the change that you want to see, right? So I do my best to wake up every day, be intentional, and tell people, not just what they want to hear, but, give them the truth, give them the honest truth as best I can, and just be a positive force in the world, because there's a lot of, as we know, there's a lot of negative out there. So just leading and being and showing and doing by example, I found to be the best way for myself.
That's a great, leading by example. That's great. Rob, what would you say to that question, sir?
I would say be intentional about leadership. One thing that I was gonna say, and it's perfect segue that it did happen and during my piece, that one of the lessons learned from the civil rights movement that Dr. John Henrik Clarke talked about was that we didn't identify new leadership and identify and develop new leadership. We had these single charismatic leaders who were taken out, and then movements stalled or failed or not failed or just stopped. And I think it's on us and on our shoulders to constantly be identifying and developing leadership whenever possible, whenever talent, skill set that we see, to be intentional and reach out and mentor actively, identifying, pouring into people, giving them their flowers and promoting them and helping them see their own brilliance and wholeness.
That's a great answer. Quickly, I just want to pick one word that he mentioned. I love the idea of mentorship and this whole idea of what the next leaders should be doing. As you're pouring into your leaders and you're developing them, I think a big part of mentorship is having the people that you mentor also mentor somebody. If I'm pouring into you, then I expect you to pour into others. And I think that is definitely one way we can encourage the leaders that we're grooming, that we're developing. Go ahead, Mrs. Parker.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a good leader, a word that I would have to some of the younger leader would be to be open to feedback. I think that sometimes leaders they tend to be to become a little stubborn. They don't like change. So to be open to feedback, to be open to change, and to be open to time evolving. And I see that a lot, especially in my field. A lot of the leaders tend to be much older, so they're not ready to pass the baton and train. And again, like Rob said, to be able to mentor others. So I think a good leader should be open to change, to be able to accept the fact that we're evolving. You know, we have to evolve with time, and just to be willing to train others and to teach others as well, to be educators.
Yeah. So what I heard from you, Maccabi, was this idea of feedback, right? Feedback is a great gift. I think if you want to be successful in any endeavor, you have to be open to feedback. A lot of us don't ask for feedback. We don't, but yet feedback, I believe, is one of the greatest gifts in life. When you take feedback, even from those that don't know how to give feedback, if you just, as we say in our culture, if you just eat the fish and throw the bones away, I think you can learn from everybody's feedback. And so thank you for that answer. Another question for Dr. McLean. Your question is going to be a little different here, but it's along the lines of, once again, this idea of success, Black success. Who is or who has been your inspiration for the successes that you've seen in your life?
I would definitely have to start with my parents. I'd have to really start with them, because their approach to just leadership, and I've shared this before with persons that are aware of me. My dad, he grew up in the country. He couldn't read, he couldn't write. My mom got dropped out of school when she was 16, right? And through that, she was able to push through her, educational pursuit. And that was something both of them, really instilled in us, in terms of like really getting our education, even though they didn't get access to, a full education. Their approach to leadership was about community. And for them, that was success. And those values are what they instill in myself and my sisters and my brothers. And that's how we lead. We lead with community. We lead with a servant leadership mindset. How are we helping these people? And so I would see my mom, bake, cake for the whole community. Or, during Christmas time, she would distribute. On a Saturday, she cooked, the Jamaican soup, and she would give it to people within her community, right? So those skills and those values are deeply seated in who I am. And so that reflects in how I serve people, right? How I serve people is really, moving with my, connecting with them on a heart level, and then, asking for their hand to partner, right? So heart before hand. So those are my two, persons within my life that I've seen success, in terms of how they serve people, how they connect with people, and how they help others. Because our life is not about us, right? When we think about our legacy, it's not about us. And there's some things in our lives that we're not going to enjoy. And we have to be okay with that. My pastor often referred to it as transgenerational blessings, right? There's some things that we're going to work on right now, and another generation is going to enjoy it. And we've seen that with Black historical leaders, where they have sowed so many seeds, they didn't really get to enjoy it, but we're enjoying it right now. So it's really thinking about that. How can we serve people, and how can we help people in an authentic way?
That's such a great answer. I love that you were blessed to have parents that were able to teach you this at home. Obviously, that is a blessing for some of us. Our parents are our greatest advantages in life, and this idea of understanding what success looks like and attaining success. But not all children born, whether it's in Jamaica, Ghana, or in the United States, have fathers, moms, or dads at home. Some come from split homes, and so I think along with that, it's just when you have a mom and a dad, that's great. But for some of us, and anyone on this platform that's still on here that have experienced success, I think part of our job is to mentor and to help others understand what it is that you just explained brilliantly, Dr. McLean. So thank you so much for that answer. Jason, same question for you. You put on this event about Black success. With that said, who are your inspirations, in your life for the success that you've seen in your life?
Yeah, thanks, Manny. I would say, first and foremost, at not to sound trite or anything else, but Christ. I look to Christ for my inspiration, for understanding of what it takes to really be successful, sacrifice, servant leadership, being able to spread the gospel message is my greatest inspiration for being successful at that level. Be in the earthly realm, my mother was a great inspiration for me, and my father growing up. I often mention, he was out of the house every day at 4 a.m. to work, to work hard, to do manual labor, crawl in attics, pull wires through buildings, and he didn't have an easy life. I always reference him as my father. He's my stepfather, but he had a very difficult life growing up, and he sacrificed so much for us. So his willingness to go the extra mile, and he was not a perfect man by any means, as none of us are, but he battled demons, but he always kept his family first. My mother, her faithfulness to God. The thing I remember about my mom is waking up each morning and seeing her at the kitchen table reading her Bible. And that instilled something in me that I didn't recognize it at the time. It was just like, oh, mom's reading, and I was running around playing, doing whatever silliness I was doing. But that consistency that I saw in her bore something deep down inside of me. And I also would say, as I've looked around to connect with more Black people, I've elevated my thinking. I didn't know Black doctors really existed outside of Cliff Huxtable on the Cosby Show. I didn't know about Black doctors. I didn't know about Black engineers. I didn't know about, there was limitations that were put on me by the environment that I was raised in. I don't know if that was intentional. It certainly wasn't intentional in my family, but yeah, I would say that's been my inspiration for success. We've got some great questions in the chat, Manny. I'd love to address those as we come up on our last few minutes. I think those would be tremendous to pivot to.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, for your answer there. Once again, your mother is obviously a great influence, stepdad. With that said, we'll go to one of the questions in the chat. So we're talking about Black success, Black excellence, but not everyone that we invited to join us is Black, right? We have people that are non-Black who are still, we're talking about success at a higher level, but once again, specifically to Black people, his question is, as a non-Black person, and this is for anybody on the panel, what can he do to help with Black excellence, Black success, to see to see Black people progress, continue to be successful, even though he's not Black? What can he do is a question that he's asking. How can he support our community in this idea of, continue to further Black excellence, Black success? Dr. Ogona, what we get you to start, give us your thoughts on that question, and then anyone else can piggyback after you're done.
Can you rephrase again, please? I'm the third guy here, so just rephrase.
Okay, I'll ask it again. So for someone that's not Black, that has listened to this last 2.5 hours of conversation, 2 hours of conversation, the question he's asking is, how can he, as a non-Black brother of ours or sister of ours, how can they help us in this idea of promoting and furthering Black excellence, Black success?
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the theme of allyship is very alive right now. Allyship. And I can divert a little bit and talk about this. I often tell my wife that there is a disconnect about a lot of white people who helped during the civil rights movement, as well as towards the end of slavery. There are a lot of white people who took great risk to do that. Think of the secret, the Underground Railway. There were a lot of white people there. So it is the relationship between whites or people of other colors supporting the Black movement is always there. So we appreciate that that's there, and that is allyship. So one way of doing that is, first of all, it depends on your level of faith. At least you need to understand the Black culture. You need to understand the Black people. You need to understand who we truly are. And then you can become an ally with us in your place of work. You provide their perspective. You provide a perspective. Within the Black people you meet, you come off as a friend that I understand this. I understand this struggle you have. I know the strength you have. I know you can bring diversity here. You can, that I believe in, I've been mentored a lot by white people and I get their opinion because being in this culture, I need to understand the Black culture and understand the white culture too. So, and I've been privileged to have that experience where I have mentors from being somebody being a Caucasian. So, in a community, get involved, and it is we are so accepting of people. In that way, we can always accept allies. So get involved in your community, mentor Black people, promote Black interest. So this you can do on your own, promote Black interest. That could, there's an advantage to that when you are promoting it. So people like we will be like, oh, he's promoting this. So people who are sitting on the sidelines might shift because they know it's one of their own is accepted of such things. So just get involved. That's what I would say.
That is an awesome answer. We are almost out of time. I'm going to be turning things over over to Jason in a second. But before I turn things over to Jason, I just want to give an example of what Dr. Ogonna just said. I came into an organization that's been around since 1992. It's a general construction, commercial construction company doing work in about 10 different states all across the West Coast of America. I came in July 2016, and I was the first person of black color to be in management in this company. And within a year and a half, the two founders who are Caucasian, seeing the ability, seeing the gifts and talents that I had, elevated me and said, we want you to lead our company. We're going to retire. Today, the company that I lead is the most diverse general construction company firm across America. We do work for Walmart and Sam's Club exclusively. And because these two gentlemen that are Caucasian saw the gifts and talents in me and not my color, not the narrative, and they elevated me into this position, today they have the blessing of having the most diverse, and not just diverse in color, but a whole lot of diversity, whether it's age. And so that's an example of how a non-Black person can be an ally of our community and our cause. And everyone wins when that happens. We're better off today as a company because of diversity that we have. So with that said, I just wanted to share my own example of what that looks like for a non-Black person to be an ally to our community. Jason, you got about 2 minutes to try to bring this ship home. Thank you so much again for bringing us together. Thank you for the last 2.5 hours. Awesome vision, and love you, my brother.
Thank you, Manny. And I was told by a very important person on this call that time in Africa is not linear. Time is circular. Time is an event. It's about people. It's about connection. It's about relationship. So we're being very African right now. We're just honoring our culture and our heritage. We know we're late. I'm not really worried about it. Anybody can jump off whenever they need to jump off. We are going to land the plane. Rob, you had something that seemed rather insightful, and I'd like to give you a minute to just speak to this, be an accomplice versus being an ally. That sounds insightful, and I'm going to just give you a minute here, touch on that. We can keep a chat going for some time, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make it quick. The good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in his letter from Birmingham jail about how the white liberals are holding back the movement at the time, right? Because of what he said, incrementalism, right? Oh, well, let's do this in this increment. Let's wait for this and let's set this up. And that's the issue. No, we can't wait, right? We can't wait for freedom. We can't wait for liberation. And so it's a difference between there's a fine line, and it's a more intentional line between being an ally and being an accomplice. An ally will help you. Accomplice is with you. You know what I mean? So stay curious about what's going on with Black folk around you. Stay curious about our experiences and how things are impacting them on the daily. And then from that, ask and see how folk, what else they need to move forward. So I love the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. And I appreciate that. Yeah, because an accomplice will go to jail with you, right? I mean, that's what, if you were in court, the accomplice is going to jail with you. The ally was just kind of, supporting you along the way. So dig in, get dirty. And Richard, I know you personally, I know your business. So here's what I would say, and we'll end on this question and kind of close up here, because I think this is pivotal for Black success. It's always been, in America, Black success has always been connected with white allyship and accompliceship, people coming alongside the cause and the mission, because quite frankly, that's just where the control lies. Okay, and we can't just ignore that fact that control and power currently sit in more so in the white community than the Black community in America and in many other countries as well. Here's what I would tell you as a non-Black person, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever it may be, opening your platform to allow Black voices to speak their own truth. Because so often when a Black voice speaks its truth, it's shut down because it makes somebody uncomfortable. And our intention isn't to make you uncomfortable. Our intention is to bring awareness to the discomfort that we feel. If that makes you uncomfortable, do something about it. See, because we're living with the discomfort, whether or not you're going to do something about it. But if you're discomforted by our discomfort, become an ally, become an accomplice, help us to change the narrative. I say I can't keep burying my head in the sand ever. It's not about being equal. And equality, there's a whole stream, and perhaps our next conversation can, delve into this a little bit more. But thank you, Richard, for opening that up. By the way, I did invite you to a group called Operation Ally. That's about a 10-week series that I ran last year 2 years ago through the COVID pandemic, where we were talking about just this. So go in, see some of our old videos that will give you literal documented history and steps along each way of how you can really be an ally. So thank you for that great question, Richard. Tons of other ones in there. I'm sure as speakers, we can go back into the Facebook chat and answer those directly to people. We won't have time on this call, but let me just close out by saying from the very bottom of my heart, I am blessed. I am honored and privileged to have shared the stage with so many accomplished individuals. I am honored and privileged to have been a part of seeing so many people get inspiration towards understanding Black success, getting real talk about Black success, showing the way. And each one of us is truly a light on a hill. It's our responsibility to give back to the community. I'm thankful that we've done that here today. I look forward to connecting with you all again. This won't be the last time you see the celebration of Black success. Look out for information come Juneteenth time. Connect with each one of these speakers as they have left their links in the chat. And we would love to have you continue to follow and grow and develop. So thank you all for your time. Be blessed as you go.